Hey guys, so we are doing the Q&A now, apparently. I just did one in French. I recorded it just like a few seconds ago, and it's kind of strange to switch from French to English, but we're gonna do it. I was thinking maybe I should do a bilingual one, but then I thought it would be too long and then you would not understand half of it, so here we go. Tell us 5 things you don't like about French culture. Okay, 5 things I don't like about French culture. I don't like the meat, I don't like how animal products are such a big part of French cuisine and how French cuisine is such a big part of French culture. What else? It's not necessarily French culture, but I don't like how everything is centralized in Paris. Like if you go to Germany, for example, you have different big cities which offer a lot of culture, a lot of entertainment, a lot of architecture, and which are really big and modern, and you don't need to go to Berlin if you want to do something in France. Most of the time you need to go to Paris, and that's something I don't like. That makes 2. 3. That's a good question, really. I don't really like how France is a bit of an old-fashioned country. Like it's really hard for ideas which are progressive and about social justice to sort of become more popular in France, which is a bit strange considering that we have such a good health care, and we are very much a country with a lot of social justice, but when it comes to feminism or veganism or anti-speciesism, it's a bit more difficult, I would say. So that makes 3. 2 more. I would say that France is a rather sexist country. And 5, I can't find a 5th one, but I will think of it and I will write it down. What are your thoughts on cultural appropriation? I've heard so many arguments regarding this topic. I was wondering if you had anything to say about it. Thanks. So that's a question that comes back very frequently and I haven't answered it yet because I don't really know. Well, obviously I think that it's a very important topic. It can be very harmful and it's something we definitely need to address because whites feel very entitled to almost everything on earth. But I also think that sometimes it goes a bit too far, and I'm saying, I mean, like 5% of what we hear, it goes too far in my opinion, and that's maybe just totally wrong, but that's how I feel about it. I could make a video about it, maybe I will, but can you give advice on how to college students and anyone in their 20s? I've said it before, but I think when you go to uni, when you go to college, it's like the most important thing is to be really organized and independent. Like you have to think by yourself, you have to work by yourself. If you want to work more, you have to work more. If you want to study more, you have to study more. If you have to study and work for yourself and understand why you're doing it. And in their 20s, understand that everything is changing. I mean, I'm only 25, but everything is changing. Everyone is changing. Change is something you need to accept. It's okay to grieve upon things. It's okay to resent people, but change will happen. You can't avoid change. Like that's the one thing I think in your 20s you really have to understand. And it's okay. It's okay. It's not failure. It's not the end of the world. It's just change. But if you also want to fight for things and you want to protect some things, it's valuable and it's good as well. Okay, why don't you do English and raw emotion videos so frequently anymore? I sincerely like you, but I've been feeling you distant lately. Okay, so I think, you know, I'm very busy. I'm like working part-time and I'm also studying and preparing for like the most difficult competitive exam you could have in France in literature. And I have a life that's not very interesting, but I have a life too, and then I have YouTube and I make half videos in French and half videos in English. I can't upload as regularly as I used to, and that's just how it is. But I think, you know, I still upload at least 1 or 2 videos in English a week. I think it's more than a lot of people. Yeah. Do you drink alcohol? I don't. How often do you change your hair? I don't really change my hair. I mean, you know, I don't really care for the color that much. I don't cut my hair, but then I put green or I put blue and that's it. Don't really change though. If you think about it, I've been blue-green for like about 3 or 4 years. What have been your thesis about in your major and in your masters, and what would you like to live? Where would you like to live in the future? Okay, so my dissertations. I did 2 dissertations, one in my first year of my master's and then in the second year. The first one was on vegetarianism in the European literature of the 19th century, and the second one was in female representation in French, Japanese and Egyptian surrealism. Where would I like to live in the future? You know, I would be happy living in France, I would be happy living in Hungary or Germany, and I'd be very happy living in Japan for a little while. Any advice for foreigners who want to go to university in France? I have a video about that. Which books about politics would you recommend to start with? That's a very interesting question that I will answer in another video, I think. But first of all, you could read things about feminism. Naomi Wolf, for example. You could read things about Palestine. It's very, very important. You could read things about imperialism and communism. That's things I would really focus on. What countries? Oh wow, many questions. What countries are you going to visit next? I'm not sure yet. I really want to go to Iran. I never remember how to say it. Whatever, Iran. I want to go back to Russia. I want to visit Georgia and Serbia and Belarus, many countries. What are your tips to cope with anxiety? I really have none except to get out. Like, for me, really, anxiety is almost unbearable if I'm in a very, like, if I'm inside. If I get outside and I'm in with nobody around, it's really easier. It also helps to talk about it. It also helps to do yoga. It also helps to accept it and be like, that's fine, I'm getting really anxious, I'm blushing a lot, I'm sweating a lot, that's fine. Easier said than done though. September is coming. What are your plans for this month? So I'm gonna start working again, go back to work. I don't really want to, but that's life, and get back to uni and start, you know, studying for the competitive exam. Do your family and friends share your political views for the most part? If not, does it interfere with the relationship you have? Good question. Actually, no. I mean, my family, yes, we have always been left-wing. I'm a bit too left-wing, maybe. I don't think so. My parents are very, very left-wing, so that's fine. My sister as well. My friends are not, though. Really not. And it does interfere, actually. Like, you know, it bothers me and it pisses me off sometimes, but that's, I don't really know. It does interfere in a way, but I can't really explain how, and I can't really, it's just really difficult to have people you like and people you've grown up with and people you really, really love, and you see them have opinions and stances that you think are very harmful. It's not just about we disagree on like legalizing weed, or we disagree on, I don't know, you know, those little political things which are important but not so important. It's hard to disagree on things such as migrants or wages and salaries for people, and that's difficult. And how do you deal with that? I don't know. What are your least favorite things about living in Paris? Favorite things, the culture, the architecture, how beautiful it is, how convenient it is. Paris is amazing, honestly. It's just, Paris is the favorite thing about Paris. My least favorite things are, it's kind of dirty, it's kind of very stressful, too many people, and nature is not very accessible, which is a bit of a shame. Do you find Paris to be a good city for INFPs to live in? Not really. Gonna be yes and no. Yes for the beauty, yes for the culture, yes for the nostalgia, or the nostalgia, I never remember, in the air. No for the people, the stress and everything in between. Can you talk about French culture a little bit? I'm going to be moving to France in 2 weeks and I want to know how to learn to adapt to a new culture as quickly as possible. I guess I just worry about making friends. So many people find it difficult to make French friends. It's because French are a bit more reserved and a bit more cool, but actually if you understand that it's just a cultural thing and you get to know them progressively, you will make friends. Ask people out. Like if you want to go out with someone, if you want to see a concert or an exhibition with someone, if you want to have a drink with someone, ask first. Really, that's the biggest advice I could give you. That might be more for a whole video, but did you ever experience people perceiving, treating you differently because of the vibrant hair color? I'm considering dyeing my hair greenish, but I'm not sure if I'm courageous enough. Okay, so that's actually an interesting question. Lately I feel like people don't really treat me differently because they're used to it, and because it somehow I think it looks natural to me. I don't know. And it's also been more, you know, people say it more nowadays, but when I did it for the first time when I was 16, it was definitely different. And I still think that nowadays people don't take me always very seriously, but not only because of my hair, because I'm a young woman who is perceived as beautiful by many, and who has green hair, and who doesn't dress like a real adult, and who has opinions such as veganism and feminism, and that's like a whole combination of things that makes it really sometimes difficult to be taken seriously. But if you want to dye your hair green, dye your hair green. Like, life's too short. How did you get out of depression and anxiety apart from your professional help, and what did you do? Do you really get out of depression and anxiety? That's the question. Professional help was the biggest thing for me. I did not take any medicine at no point in my life because I don't think it's the solution for me, and I'm very critical of that. Medicine, I mean, even though yes, for some people it's beneficial and necessary. Yeah, professional help was definitely the biggest thing. Then being open about it, but also not too open. I think nowadays, like, there's this thing that you should talk about it openly. You should be like, hey, I'm this, I'm that. For me, it doesn't work. So I like to be open about it, but not too open, so that it doesn't, you know, people then they think of you as the depressed one or the anxious one. And I feel like people very often don't understand you, and it's very frustrating and upsetting. So, you know, it's all about respecting your boundaries. For me, that was something beneficial, I think. And making sure to do things that do me good, like eating well, going out, giving myself some time. Those things are not gonna replace professional help, but they're definitely things that make the work you do with a professional easier. Anyway, that's the end of this video. It's gonna be super fucking long. I hope you don't mind. If there's anything you want me to talk more about in detail, let me know. Actually, one of the reasons why also it feels like I'm not doing as many English videos as I used to is because I don't know what to talk about anymore, because I've done so many. So if you have recommendations, go ahead. Don't forget to check out my Twitter, my Instagram, and my Patreon, guys. I would really appreciate it. You can donate $1 a month. I don't think it's a lot, but it's a lot for me, and it's a nice place to interact more with you guys. So definitely consider it if you fancy it and if you can afford it. Thank you for watching this video, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye! Allez,